About the coolest job in the world. What I get to do every day is go work with clients and help them make the future real today. So you heard there aren't a lot of companies out there that have more than a few years of experience. We have about 700, 800 designers and strategists and engineers at Frog. Between us, we probably have half a century worth of experience in designing wearables, or what I like to think of is the third wave of computing. So Frog's a 40-plus-year-old design firm, started in the Black Forest in Germany. Steve Jobs went on a trek around the world in the early 80s to find a partner for a little company called Apple. He picked us, that got us here to the US. We were the design partner for Apple throughout the 80s. We started with our heritage in industrial design. In the 90s, we got into digital design. Today, we work at the intersection of what I call convergent experiences. We work with clients who are struggling to redefine their brand in an always-on, always-connected world, and what that comes down to is creating what we think of as signature experiences. Experiences that actually traverse your physical and digital touch points with your customers and partners. So, we're storytellers. We're storytellers as human beings. We're storytellers as designers, as strategists, as business people. You'll bear with me. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about the history of computing from the point of view of a lay person. So what I'm suggesting here is we're in the third wave of computing, and what I'm starting my talk with is an image of a data layer transposed over the city of Munich. It's some work we did a couple of years ago. I'll have a short movie clip about it as well. And here's how my story is going to unfold for you today. I'm going to talk, let me cut across here so I'm not constantly walking back and forth across the screen, about the first and second waves for a moment, then I'll double click on the third wave. That's where the wearables start to show up. And I'll give you some examples of what it looks like. And it's actually a lot more than just the product, and that's one of the areas we work on at Frog. We talk a lot about innovation. We believe it happens when you bring together multiple disciplines. When you have world-class designers, design researchers, ethnographic researchers, creatives, technologists, and business strategists. And I lead the global strategy group at Frog, so that's my role. And I'll also end by talking a little bit about the vectors of value, because really a lot of these types of solutions, particularly as you move beyond the consumer space, involve big bets. And so how are we helping convince clients to make those big bets? And I'll have a few closing thoughts. So, first wave started about 50 years ago in something called a glass house. This is something maybe your grandparents worked with. We had the mainframe. We got to the 80s and we started to see the advent of the personal computer. We're still working with them today. Whether it's a mainframe or a PC, there are two characteristics that all of these devices have in common. They're not mobile, and they're not contextually aware. That is one of the bigger limiters about them as we begin to think about the opportunities that are opening up for us right now. In fact, there used to be an operating system called TSO, Time Sharing Operating Systems. Hard to imagine. They used to design entire systems to run one application. Today we pick from how many? Infinite number, it seems like. There are more every day. The application of the data was tied up into the single system. That's pretty much what the computing environment looked like for the first couple decades. Now we got to, well, the date I like to think about is August 6, 1991. Anybody know what happened on August 6, 1991? That's the day Tim Berners-Lee put up the first web page. So in my mind, that's the dawn of the modern internet. Now a few things started to happen as we move through the 90s. Two important trends that are accelerating today that I think offer some of the most important vectors of hope for us as a global society. First one is the democratization of technology, and the second one is the decapitalization. Now why do I say that? If you tried to build an app to run in this era of computing, you need to find VCs. You saw a few names up there, but you needed a lot more money from them. You needed a lot more than hope. Or you needed to have big pockets in a public company. The game has completely changed, and we'll talk more about that. So here we are in the second era. I spent a week About a month ago in Lima, Peru at a World Economic Forum, a regional summit on Latin America, I met with over 50 business executives. Every one of them only wanted to talk to me about one thing. How do they have electronic connection to the growing middle class? It's one of the fastest growing middle classes in the world. They didn't want to talk about doing it on a laptop. They wanted to talk about one target platform. That's it. That's what people are developing for today. That is the target platform. It's not Unix, it's not Windows, it's not Apple OS. Now what's interesting, contrast that to a world we live in with these always on, always connected computers in our pockets that happen to have an app that's voice on it. Well, I would guess that in the 20 minutes where I'm up here, yours will probably beep, ring, vibrate, ding, try and get your attention at least a couple times, maybe more. So we have a very different experience. And the good news is this idea of decapitalization and democratization, it's accelerating. We're beginning to see those apps and data become unlocked. They're no longer stuck in the system. They're moving into the network, what we like to think of as the cloud. So let's jump to the third wave. What is it? Let me start with an analogy to one of the most successful companies in the second wave. Company right around here. Company put out a pretty audacious goal a number of years ago. At least it was to me when I first heard it. They said they're going to go out and they're going to scan every book that's out of copyright and they're going to put it up on the internet. Oh yeah, they're also going to drive down every road that has a car and put that up on the internet, the map. And they did it, but imagine the effort involved. What I love are these third wave apps. This is WordLens. This is one I don't leave home without when I go abroad. I hold up WordLens to any sign in Lima, Peru, and I get an immediate translation, and it's not some mechanical Turk doing it for me. It's an algorithm in the cloud. So how's the third wave going to unfold? It's going to happen in 3 phases. 2 of them are well underway. First one is about how dumb I've been feeling. I got a smart refrigerator, a smart toaster, we got smart watches, and thank goodness I have 2 teenagers, we have smart cars. I was driving a car a few weeks ago that had smart tires. Smart tires that communicated with an insurance company so they could give credit if you really were a good driver and didn't go over the speed limit. But what I was most excited about was the sensor array around the chassis, because that wouldn't let the car hit an inanimate object. And that's exactly the car I want my daughters driving. Now, this is the scary part. Everything is smart and everything's getting connected. That's what we've been working on the last 10 years. You look at the data. I'm going to set aside the mobile phones and the PCs. We have about 3.5 billion things connected right now. The data says that's less than 1% of everything that's going to be connected in the next 10 years. So we're going to see a world that's smart and connected, and oh, by the way, they're going to have network accessible APIs. We're heading to a world that's going to be pretty complex. We thought we're babysitting what's in our pocket. I got some news for you. When things are smart and connected and programmable, we better get our act together, because we're going to have more days like this. This is April 10th, 2010. This is the Gulf of Mexico. This is the Deepwater Horizon oil rig, 3rd worst oil disaster in the world. And oh, by the way, this was smart oil rig, connected oil rig, thousands of sensors going off. But this is the physical graph for the dude in the Network Operations Center. If we don't get our act together and figure out how to make these smart and connected things designed for us, we got some problems ahead of us. So what I'm suggesting is we need to start focusing on API application platform as a way to get this under control. So, third wave, what does it look like? This is unfortunately April 15th, 2013 in my hometown. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. This is a few minutes after those bombs went off at the end of the marathon. There's one dude who, one guy who has a circle on his head. That's one of the two brothers who set it off. Now, how do I know that? I could have never figured it out. But the FBI had uploaded within 6 hours tens of thousands of video footage, surveillance footage, amateur footage, to their server. They put it in the cloud, they ran an algorithm against it, and they identified the two people in all that footage who weren't running. These two guys, the Taranoff brothers. And then the FBI did something unprecedented. Again, it shows how we have new ways of operating in the third wave. They didn't choose to keep the information to themselves if they knew who the perpetrators were in the first 12 hours. They made it available to everyone. So what we like to say in Boston is it took us 9 years to find Osama bin Laden, but it took Boston 4 days to find the Taranoff brothers. Now, we heard a little bit about glass holes, I mean Google Glass. Has anyone had the opportunity to sit across from someone with one of these? It's a little bit creepy. I mean, are they looking up fun facts about me that I may not be ready to share? Are they recording our conversation, putting it up on the cloud and tagging my name against it? If anyone's doing that, by the way, let's talk afterwards. But we are creating experiences like this at Frog. We do think that there is a role for virtual reality. Now, I think Google Glass is a little bit more of a segue product. It's going to have a role in businesses. I'm not sure it will take off necessarily for consumers. But we are creating experiences like this for our client in cities like Munich, like I said. And I do believe the third wave is going to be around computing just beginning to appear in our infrastructure and in our environment. This is a digital signage solution we developed. This one recognizes there's a guy in front of it. Even if the guy lets him, we'll recognize the guy's shopping patterns in the store, recognize the shirt he's wearing, and make recommendations based on it. Now, the previous speaker talked about 3D printers. We're making wearables with 3D printers. This is my favorite story that I get to tell you this morning. This kid is a kid from South Africa who had a father who was a mechanical engineer. His son was born without a hand. He spent nights and weekends when he got his first 3D printer designing an injected molded ABS hand with ABS plastic hand with a few sensors for him. Cost the dad about $150. The dad put it up on Thingiverse, created a community around the world of other people with 3D printers. They got the cost of making these hands down to $7. So I was talking about this with someone about a month ago. He said, dude, I made one of these. That hand over there was made by a guy in Hillsboro, Oregon, sent to a kid in Alaska this summer whose favorite color was purple. If you know a kid who's missing a limb anywhere in the world, there is a community of people who want to be making hands and now feet for them. That's what the wearable revolution, that's what the third wave, that's why I'm so excited about it, is about. We started working on wearable medical devices, 3 or 4 years ago. We made this one over there then. That was for something called an IEM, an ingestible event marker. If you're not in healthcare, there's no reason you should know that TLA, that 3-letter acronym. But an IEM is actually a 1 millimeter sensor that you swallow. It dissolves, and it communicates with the patch that you swallowed it, and it's dissolved. It's nirvana for pharmaceutical companies and doctors. Now we're printing sensors on the skin. These sensors are ideal. They're self-powered. They monitor the temperature. They monitor how much moisture you have on your skin, and you can actually track in real time how a wound or a scar is healing. Now at Frog, we get super excited about this stuff. We actually run competitions. So we ran a competition about connected devices. This was my favorite one. It came out of our studio in Shanghai. If anyone's ever lived in China in any of the major cities, you're better off staying in your room and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day than trying to run outside in some of the cities on a bad day. But with this device, the Airwaves connected mask, you not only get a filter in the air, but it communicates to the cloud and it reports on air quality wherever you are in the city in real time. I like things like that. So I'm not saying phones or PCs are going to go away. There's going to be an ebb and flow. We're just going to see a lot of new experiences. A lot of them are going to first emerge through wearables. But let me talk about this one. This is a cool one. This one isn't $150. This one's costing this company dollars, maybe less. This is Disney. They got a long write-up about this in the spring. Disney ran into a little problem. Anybody here ever had to take kids to Disney World? I have. I remember two things. I remember the long lines, and I remember a big sucking sound on my back pocket, because every time I had to pull out and pay for something for my kids. And Disney started to hear from their guests that they're not having as much fun. The lines are too long, and there's an arms race going on in theme parks, by the way, if you didn't know. Harry Potter opened up across the street, and there are a few others now. So Disney decided they needed to do something different. And they started to rethink the experience in the park and how do they make it more magical. So they came upon this idea of giving RFID bands to people, called the Magic Band Plus. They're taking away the turnstiles, they're taking away the tickets for rides, and hopefully they'll take away the lines. And oh, by the way, this will open your hotel room. It will let you buy things. You no longer need your money in the park. And if you allow Disney to, when your child goes up to hug Mickey, Mickey's going to know your kid's name. Mickey's going to know if it's your kid's birthday. That's the magic. And of course it happens now by tapping on a digital signpost. And they've had to spend a huge amount of money. Huge. In fact, this is the biggest bet they've made short of building a new resort. According to the New York Times, it may be well over $1 billion. But the value isn't in the band for them. The value's in everything they learn from it. And this is the really exciting thing about the third wave, is the endpoints now aren't a bunch of browsers, aren't a bunch of PCs. They're going to be a heterogeneous set of devices. In fact, what is important to the business people aren't the devices themselves, it's what I would think of as the physical graph. How do all those devices interact? What are they doing? Where are they? What are they spending their time on? What are they spending their money on? That is the value that Disney's going to extract from its existing infrastructure by layering on new technology, and may very well be a game changer for them and keep them one step ahead of everyone else. So, I'm going to end my talk about wearables and the third wave, talking about that little detail about funding and business and decision makers and how we're working with companies to help convince them that they need to do this. They can't be on the sidelines. I was with a client yesterday. They said to me, Theo, is this a false dawn? I'd never heard that expression. Is this a false dawn? No way. The sun is going to be out and it's going to be bright, and you're either going to be on the train, conductor on the train, or you can lay the tracks for the train. And that's what I'm going to throw down for you, because I think everyone in here probably has an opportunity to help shape how this industry evolves. So let me tell you how we convince our clients to make these big bets. We started doing this a number of years ago. I've actually been building business cases for the third wave of computing and for wearables for 4 or 5 years. And we started with that old sawhorse of the hockey stick model. You're going to invest, you're going to invest, you're going to invest. Somewhere around year 3, 4, or 5, you're going to see all this money come in the door. Guess what? In this economy, that's a hard sell for a CFO. So where do we focus? We start with lowering running costs. We start with operational efficiency. Remember the sprawl of the PCs in the first wave? I don't know, maybe some of you were working then in the 90s. It was all about how do you contain the cost. Because it was easy in a data center. We had the glass house, we had the guy in the white lab coats, and the difference between a mainframe and a PC, not that much. All the same moving parts, just as many lines of code. But now we have one on everyone's desktop. And we don't have glass houses with lab coats around everyone's desk. We had to figure out how to automate software distribution, troubleshooting, remote monitoring. Guess what? We got to do that again, folks. Except now we're going to do it for garbage cans, for street lights, for parking spots, for medical devices. You build the right infrastructure, you show the ROI in 9 to 12 months, it's an easy sell. And those are easy business cases to make. We're making them every month. Now, once you get the right infrastructure in place and you save the money, you start making new forms of value for your products. You amplify the product. I got a great example of that. I just found it the other day. We'll all relate to it. Then you begin to sell the data stream. You're actually just selling the data. And then you get to this whole new space of creating whole new experiences and products that couldn't have existed before the third wave. So let's go through each of these. I just have time for one example of each. I love this company. Big Belly Solar. Can't wait till they get to Boston, because 3 times a week, I wake up in the morning to the garbage truck going down my street, checking a bunch of empty garbage cans. You know, just think about how much better I would sleep and how much money the city of Boston would save if they only had the trucks going down the streets where the garbage cans were reporting they needed to be empty. And I love this. They have their clean dashboard. Collection, logistics, efficiency, and notification system. I think we all need one of those. Now, this is Huggies. Many of us have probably dealt with diapers. Now you can get a sensor for your Huggies that will send you a tweet and say, get off Twitter, your kid needs to have their diaper changed. That's what I mean by amplifying an existing product. Now at Frog, we believe in not only making cool products for lots of big companies, we spend about 5% of our time doing social innovation. We actually want to make the world a better place, and we try and invest our effort in the bottom of the pyramid. And this is one of my favorite examples of selling the data stream that's doing that. So this is Kalimo Salama. It means better farming in Swahili. They're a company, they're an insurance company, a micro insurance company. What is a micro insurance company doing in the wearable space, in the world Internet of Things space? Let me tell you. Well, think about it. To give an insurance policy to a farmer who has 200 acres versus a farmer who has 1 acre, the effort to monitor whether that crop failed or not is about the same, except in this case you'd have to get yourself over to Africa to do it. So what Kalimo Salama has done is they've built solar-powered weather stations around Africa. They have thousands of farmers, micro farmers are now insuring. These are farmers who take their life savings every year, about $10, and spend it on seed. And if that seed fails, if that crop fails, it will take them 4 or 5 years to be able to buy the next round of seed. So they're saying, Mr. or Mrs. Farmer, who's probably never heard of insurance before, if you're willing to spend 5% more, and oh, by the way, we'll do it through M-Pesa, the most widely used mobile payment system in the world. So on top of the $10, you spend an additional 50 cents. We'll insure that crop. And we will pay you the $10 back if your crop doesn't yield what you expect. And so what they do is they have a weather station, they have sensors, and any farmer who's within 15 kilometers of any weather station is eligible for this insurance. And they'll automatically pay you out through M-Pesa, because every 15 minutes they load up weather data to their cloud and they run analytics against it, and they have a weather algorithm that lets them know, a weather index, if you're able to successfully get a harvest that year or not. I love that. I'm going to end with this one, because this is a game changer. This is completely new value. You guys heard of this company, SST Shot Spotter? They have an audio acoustic array that goes into urban environments. Why? Because only 2 out of 10 gunshots today in major cities get reported to 911. 8 out of 10 gunshots are never heard. Well, they're probably heard, but the police never know about it. So with this solution, 10 out of 10 gunshots are heard by the police. Not only that, they know what model of gun was used, and they know that street address, and oh, by the way, if it was shot from a car, they know what direction the car was going. So in the city of Cincinnati, they turn on the video cameras at the traffic lights, they get the license plate number for the car, and 2 months ago, you can go read about this online, they convicted a felon and put him away for 5 years based on this data. And living in a city, having kids who live in cities, this is what I want to see in every city. So, what do I got to say about the third wave? It's personal, it's going to require a lot of new systems, and it's going to be driven by a lot of new economics. Thank you very much for your time.